Hello, hockey fans. Austin here with the day after discussion of the Oilers' massive, humongous, incredible, based 3-0 win over the Vegas Golden Knights last night. There was a lot to talk about. I didn't cover everything in the post-game fan reaction last night, but if you want to check that out, if you missed it, I will leave a link to it in the description below. And these day after discussions, they're just a formal place to just hang out. You can grab a snack, grab a drink. If you're listening on a podcast platform, I do appreciate that. Thank you. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, of course, I thank you as always. If you end up enjoying today's video, just make sure to hit that like button. And if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as we're already climbing towards 5,800 subscribers, and we are well on our way to hitting 6,000 subscribers by the end of May. The support on the channel has been incredible. I'm doing the absolute cinema thing in my chair. Absolute cinema. Thank you all so much for your continued support. Like I mentioned, the Oilers last night, they had lost Game 3, and they needed a big win in Game 4. And nobody needed a bigger win and a bigger performance, in my opinion, to instill some confidence in the fan base than Stuart Skinner. And Stuart Skinner, well, he delivered, folks. And as someone that has been as hard on Stuart Skinner as I have, I could not be happier. When Stuart Skinner succeeds, the team succeeds. When Stuart Skinner is confident, the team is confident. And last night we saw that, and there isn't much else to say in terms of that, positivity towards Stu. Now, there are a few comments from my video yesterday, my post-game fan reaction, and I've seen a few comments going back to the crash out that I had after Game 3, telling me to delete that video, delete my channel. Listen, that's why it's called a post-game fan reaction. That is the most emotional part of the evening, is right after an Oilers game. Win or lose, that is the literal most emotional part of, my entire evening when I watch hockey. It's usually the next day where we've had a chance to just relax, calm down, kind of analyze things from an objective level. And there's a lot of people that probably, that comment stuff like that. I know I shouldn't even acknowledge comments like that, but I'm just giving my logic here. A lot of people who comment stuff like that, they haven't been around the channel for a long time. They're unfamiliar. They see the title of one video and then they see the title of another video and they're like, well, this guy, he's a hypocrite. He says he hates Stu and now he loves Stu. Listen, I have been a big Stuart Skinner supporter. I was one of the last people in this fan base to finally kind of turn against Stu. And it's not like I turned against Stu the person. I just turned against, accepting this level of goaltending long-term for the Oilers, a team with Stanley Cup aspirations. But I've always been a Stuart Skinner supporter. I've been ride or die Stuart Skinner since he came into the league, even when he struggled in moments during the playoffs last year, even when he struggled in moments during the regular season. I was still all over him and supporting him. And I have the Stu Skinner hockey card behind me. He's leaned up next to the Ryan Smith bobblehead, and you love to see that. Also next to a Draisaitl card and then a Draisaitl pop figure. Listen, we love Stu here in Oil Country. And I don't want anyone here to say that people hate Stu. We do not hate Stu in Oil Country. We love Stu. We know he's such a good person. He's such a good teammate. And, we're critical, right? Because that's what fans are. They're critical of play. And there are a lot of moments where being critical is warranted. That comes with the territory of being a professional athlete. Not that I have to defend myself from my talking points in the past and then now, but I just wanted to acknowledge that because we all love Stu, and I'm very hard on Stuart Skinner. I might be one of the hardest people on Stuart Skinner, but if you're a fan that watches a video of mine where I'm being really mean towards Stuart Skinner, as long as we're not actually, making personal attacks on anybody ever, There's a fine line between a fan having a reaction versus someone just being an outright bully. And listen, nobody here is being a bully. We do not encourage any of that on this channel. It is all positivity 99% of the time, unless I have an absolute crash out, which does happen occasionally, but happily, it did not happen last night. Now, before we get into our talking points today, I did miss a couple comments from the Discord. Now, during fan reactions, I usually answer some fan questions on Twitter and Discord. I didn't do any from the Discord last night. I do apologize. There was one in particular that I do want to look at. I was asked by Dacky what I thought of this celly by Adam Henrique. This was after his second goal. He is on his knees. He's having a great time. Look at him sliding towards the half wall. You have Wallman coming in to embrace him. You have Zach Zach Hyman coming in to embrace him. And what you don't see is Evander Kane being swarmed by 5 Golden Knights and Adin Hill behind the play, because these three, they're just having a grand old time. Listen, I could not be happier for Adam Henrique. What an unbelievable game from Adam. 2 goals for him, 3 goals for that line with him and Evander Kane on it, and the depth scoring for Edmonton continues to shine here in the postseason. The big guns last night, they weren't relied on for offense. In fact, they actually were relied on for their defense. And we are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Chris Knobloch's adjustments that he made to the lineup. But I did want to acknowledge that from Dacky, who posted in the Discord. I missed that last night, so I just wanted to make sure I do my due diligence and make sure that I catch up a little bit there. But let's talk about the lineup adjustments that Chris Knobloch made and how he approached this game from a tactical and line matching perspective. So we all know that Jack Eichel against Connor McDavid, Eichel has controlled the play. I don't think anyone can argue with the stats, the eye test. Jack Eichel's line against the McDavid line, and that has been historic as well for the last couple of seasons, even in the playoffs in 2023. The Eichel line does very well against the McDavid line. Jack Eichel is super underrated for his two-way play. Last night was a different story because Chris Knobloch, not only did he have McDavid and Draisaitl split for the entire game, he had one specific line as a checking line against Jack Eichel. They were not being relied on for their offense. They were being relied on to shut them down, but we're going to talk about that here. First line for Edmonton last night was Nugent Hopkins with McDavid and Zach Hyman. Now, that top line for Edmonton, their defensive responsibility was against the William Karlsson line against Vegas. The William Karlsson line has a lot of speed, a lot of skill, and for McDavid, Hyman, and Nugent Hopkins, they didn't get on the score sheet last night. But boy, oh boy, well, Hyman did, but McDavid wasn't out there. But McDavid, Nugent, Hyman, their job was to slow down that line for the Golden Knights. And because that's Vegas's second best line, and I don't mind that at all. Because it's Vegas's second best line, you're also getting McDavid away from Eichel. And McDavid, Nugent, Hyman had numerous scoring opportunities last night. They held an over 60% expected goals for percentage as a forward line. In fact, they were sitting at 61.19%, just taking a look at the natural stat trick on my other monitor. But the second line for Edmonton, this was the key line for the Oilers. Podkolzin with Draisaitl and Kapanen. Now, in the past, we have historically seen Podkolzin with Draisaitl and Victor Arvidsson. But before this game, Chris Knobloch, he made an adjustment. He took Victor Arvidsson out of the lineup. He inserted Kasperi Kapanen into the lineup. Well, what does Kapanen bring to this team when he is in the lineup? Well, he brings incredible skating. He is a very, very fast skater, and he can get in on the forecheck very quickly. So you have Podkolzin and Draisaitl who like to dump it, and then they need someone to go and retrieve the puck. Well, Kapanen is one of those guys. And Podkolzin, he's the same. He's a good skater as well. He uses his body. So you have 2 fast physical players on Draisaitl's wings. That's terrific. And then you have Draisaitl himself, who probably had the worst game of his entire playoff career in Game 3. They tasked him to have the most important assignment in Game 4, and that was to shut down the Jack Eichel line. So you have basically 2 fourth liners next to Leon Draisaitl. You have Podkolzin and Kapanen, both very responsible defensively, both very good when they get in on the forecheck and the cycle game. And then you have Leon Draisaitl, who this season was a terrific two-way player. In fact, there were a lot of fans hoping that he would be nominated for the Selke, though he does not penalty kill, so that, I think, kind of disqualifies him from a lot of the Pro Writers Hockey Association, but I don't really care what they think. Draisaitl should have been nominated for the Selke this year. His two-way play is very underrated, in my opinion. In years past, yes, Draisaitl definitely cheated for offense. That is not the case anymore. You have Draisaitl with a strong two-way game, Podkolzin and Kapanen, who play that fourth-line, grindy, physical type of game. They make life miserable for defenders, and they get in on the forecheck. Great with their sticks. They're great physically. Kapanen had numerous hits last night, big, thunderous hits. Same with Podkolzin. And Jack Eichel, how did that line do against this line for the Oilers? How did Jack Eichel do? The Jack Eichel line combined for 1 shot on goal at 5-on-5 against the Oilers line of Draisaitl, Podkolzin, and Kasperi Kapanen. That, my friends, is Chris Knobloch taking advantage of home ice, taking advantage of the final change, and also making sure that he is getting a checking, defensively responsible line out against Jack Eichel. If you don't want Eichel to score goals against you, you need to find a way to slow him down. Well, Draisaitl, Pods, and Kapanen did that last night. So what does that mean for the rest of the forward group? If you have McDavid on his own line as a checking role, preventing a scoring line from scoring for Vegas, and you have Draisaitl on a line, preventing a scoring line for Vegas from scoring, well, that leaves the Oilers' depth to clean up the rest. And Evander Kane, Adam Henrique, and Connor Brown last night was the offensive driver for Edmonton. Adam Henrique had 2 goals. Connor Brown had an assist. Evander Kane had a goal and an assist last night as the third line for Edmonton. They get the less tough matchups because Draisaitl and McDavid's lines, they're going up against the top 6 of Vegas. So now you have the third line of Edmonton, a mix of size, speed, and skill. Scoring touch, of course, with Kane. And they made Vegas pay. It was a perfectly coached game from a tactical standpoint, a perfectly coached game when it comes to the lineup combinations, and at morning skate as well. I briefly talked about this in the fan reaction last night. At morning skate, there were no specific line rushes, so nobody knew what the lines were actually going to look like. The only person that knew was Chris Knoblauch and the rest of the team. And Bruce Cassidy, who's the coach of the Vegas Golden Knights, who has had a lot of success as coach of the Bruins, a lot of success as coach of Vegas. He's obviously won a cup with the Golden Knights in 2023. Bruce Cassidy is a big line matchup guy. He is someone that is also very good at planning ahead. He likes to know what he is going up against so that he can plan his tactics. After game 1 against the Oilers, Vegas, they made adjustments, and they were the better team in Game 2 and Game 3, in my opinion, especially Game 2. Oh boy, the Oilers were lucky to come out of that one with the win. Vegas did a good job at adjusting. Bruce Cassidy did a great job adjusting his lines, who his line matchups were going out against. And Chris Knoblauch, after Game 3, he had to make adjustments himself, and they came up clutch for him. And not only did they come up clutch, but you can tell the whole team is bought in. This is such an important detail to mention here. We talk a lot about the top-end skill for Edmonton. We expect guys like Draisaitl and McDavid to score goals, but now they have guys up and down this lineup that can go out there and produce. And Evander Kane is one of those guys who's an X factor right now for this team. Adam Henrique showed why he has been a 30-goal scorer in his career in the NHL. Connor Brown continues to show why he is just a playoff warrior out there. Another assist tonight to get Adam Henrique his first goal of the game, just a minute and a half in. This line for Edmonton was key, and Chris Knoblauch deserves a ton of credit for how he rolled his lines in this game. Now, Frederick, Janmark, and Perry, they didn't play a whole lot out there, but in the ice time that they were given, they were basically just go out and do your thing, hit bodies, get some pucks towards the net. That fourth line for Edmonton, their specific role is basically just don't get scored against. Trent Frederick had a fight against Haig in the first period as well. That was really good to see. I loved the emotion. Right? I thought the Oilers, they don't play with enough emotion sometimes. Throughout the regular season, there were many times, many post-game fan reactions where I was questioning where the emotion was in this team. Why is there not enough emotion on the ice? Well, they also had a mandate at the start of this game, get under the skin of the Golden Knights, create, manufacture emotion, manufacture a little bit of hatred, manufacture a little bit of anger. Because you should be mad. The Oilers should have been mad after Game 3, and they were. And nobody was more mad in this game than Adin Hill. As if anyone even got near Adin Hill, he was freaking out. He reminded me of Jordan Binnington just skating around, slashing people, knocking people over, trying to fight Evander Kane when Kane was shoved onto him. But the Oilers, they did a great job. Now, let's talk about the defensive pairs for the Oilers as well, because it wasn't just the forward group that got switched around. The defensive pairs got changed as well. You had Ty Emberson come out of the lineup, and Troy Stecher was inserted. Now, Nurse and Stecher were reunited. There is history with those two players, and historically, they have put up very strong metrics. They put up good regular season metrics when they play together, and it's actually kind of shocking that it's taken as long as it has to see Stecher in the lineup next to Darnell Nurse. Now, why would it take as long as it has for Stecher to get back into this lineup? I think there was a couple reasons. Number one, Stecher wasn't quite ready to go in that Kings series for the first couple of games. And Chris Knoblauch, he is a creature of habit. When the team is winning, he doesn't change a gosh darn thing. And they were on a 6-game win streak until that loss in Game 3. And of course, with that loss, mentally, Chris Knoblauch's like, perfect. I can do all these lineup adjustments now. Chris, I'd like to see you adjust maybe on the fly a little bit sooner, but hey, it's fine. No worries. The team, they won last night. But anyways, Nurse and Stetcher were put back together, and that might have been Edmonton's best pair last night. They had a combined, hold on, let me just find it. Darnell Nurse and Troy Stetcher, their expected goals for last night together was sitting at 66.55%. I'll quickly show you the natural stat trick. Darnell Nurse, Troy Stetcher, top here, 66.55%. Shots were 7-4 Edmonton when they were on the ice at 5-on-5. Shot attempts 17-10 in favor of the Oilers. That line or defensive pair was absolutely cooking for Edmonton. And for Darnell Nurse, he was a -3 in Game 3. Probably played his worst game of his entire playoff career as well in that Game 3 against Vegas. He looked so much more comfortable. And I think Troy Stetcher, because Stetcher can move his feet and he's tenacious. Sometimes I think Darnell Nurse, when he's paired with different guys, he's trying to do a little bit too much. If he's paired with Bouchard, he knows that Bouchard doesn't have that like tenacious foot speed to get into an area that he has to get to defend. And for Nurse, sometimes it looks like he's just skating too much. We saw it last year in the playoffs as well. Nurse with Cody Ceci. Sometimes Nurse is just skating all over the defensive zone because it feels like, or he must feel like, he's trying to defend two sides of the ice. But with Troy Stetcher, all Nurse has to worry about is his own coverage, his own checking player that he is going up against man on man, and they work very well together. So obviously, as this series progresses, hopefully only one more game if you're an Oilers fan. Nurse and Stetcher, that's a great pair. You love to see it. Next up, you had Kulak with Bouchard as the, unofficial top unit for the Edmonton Oilers. Evan Bouchard, he led the Oilers in time on ice last night, and for good reason. That was Bouchard's best game. I think that was Evan Bouchard's best game of the entire postseason. Connor Halley, he put out a tweet. He's from the Jason Gregor show. I'll just quickly show you. Bouchard last night, game high, 25-14 time on ice. He played 3.5 minutes on the penalty kill. The kill did not give up a goal last night. He had 3 blocked shots, 3 takeaways, 0 giveaways, 1 assist, and was a +1. The 0 giveaways for Evan Bouchard last night is a big one. A lot of fans, they always get up in arms about Evan Bouchard, how often he seems to give the puck away, his lackadaisical or, perceived lackadaisical effort in the defensive zone. Not last night. Last night, Evan Bouchard, he was at the top of his game defensively. Again, they weren't relying on him for offense. It's like Chris Knobloch and Paul Coffey got together with the whole team and went, guys, we have to defend here. We have to play in front of Skinner the way we play in front of Calvin Pickard. And I would argue Edmonton played even better than they usually do in front of Pickard. It's a team effort. I know Stuart Skinner, he gets a lot of the crap, and he got all the crap from me after Game 3. But as a team, they recognized that they had to play better in front of their goaltender. Don't give the Golden Knights anything easy. And last night, the defensive pairs for Edmonton, Paul Coffey, he was rolling them. Ty Emberson was only getting about 8-9 minutes a night when he was in the lineup. Troy Stetcher last night, he's inserted. He plays over 16 minutes last night. That is huge. That allows the team to really spread the wealth out. John Klingberg only played about 13 minutes last night, and that's a good thing. They had been playing Klingberg a lot lately. I think it's good because obviously that means Klingberg is healthy enough to play a lot, but if you can start to load manage guys who have had injuries and maybe you don't want playing 20 minutes a night, like John Klingberg, that is just beneficial in the future here. And Jake Wallman, by the way, I have another stat for Jake Wallman. Give me 1 second here. The best plus-minus for defensemen over their first 10 playoff games of their entire career. Jake Wallman, a +12, tied with Al Iafrate, and then Henrik Talander, +11, Andre Benoit, +10, Dave Langevin, +10. But Jake Wallman, after 10 playoff games, is a +12 rating. You cannot ask for much more from Jake Wallman right now. He is providing this team so much stability on that back end. That is an incredible pickup at the trade deadline for the Edmonton Oilers for Stan Bowman. Thank you, Mike Greer from the San Jose Sharks. We didn't even have to give up anything for him, really. What an unbelievable trade. I will give Stan Bowman and the Oilers a ton of credit for picking up Jake Wallman. Now, this was a player that I raved about when the Oilers picked him up from the Sharks. This is a player that I had seen play in Detroit, had seen play in San Jose, loved his metrics. And the fact that the Oilers are down their best overall defenseman in Mattias Ekholm, the fact Wallman has stepped in and been able to play the quality minutes that you would expect from a Mattias Ekholm type player, Well, that's massive. And that just shows that when Ekholm comes back, what the heck do you do? Who do you even take out? Because if the defensive core plays like this, I would argue it's tough to take anyone out. But, of course, we don't know when Ekholm is coming back. We know he won't be back in this series, and he likely won't be back in the next series either, but it depends how it goes for the Oilers. Hopefully they can close things out on, or I guess tomorrow against the Golden Knights in Game 5 at T-Mobile Arena. Now, let's get to some of the numbers from the day after here. At the bottom of the screen, the Oilers, they won 3-0, and it was a pretty comfortable game. I always talk on this channel, I'm always sitting there going, man, why can't this team just win a game like a normal team? Why can't we get a lead? Why can't we hold a lead? And why can't we feel comfortable for 60 minutes? Well, last night was about as comfortable as I think any fan has felt with this team. This game was never in doubt. The Golden Knights had a couple looks. They had one breakaway. They had a couple rush chances. They had a wraparound attempt. They had 3 power plays, but the Oilers did such a good job at neutralizing numerous high-danger chances. I think Vegas had 7 high-danger chances in the entire night at 5-on-5, which is, I think, the 3rd or 4th best effort defensively for Edmonton in the playoffs. That's a great sign, right? And it's a great sign that Stu, he made those saves. So those are the saves that you consider, the ones he's not supposed to make. The high danger looks, those shots in the slot, those cross crease passes. But Stu, 23 save shutout last night. I don't even know what that'll bump his numbers to. He was sitting at like an .817 save percentage in the postseason. Oh, look at that. Okay, so he's below 4 goals against, and he's at an .857 save percentage now, just to show you all the numbers on the screen here. So with that win, with that shutout, he is now at a .395 goals against an .857 save percentage. Good for Stu. But if you take a look at Stuart Skinner in the playoffs, he started with an .800, then an .821, then an .833, and now a shutout in Game 4. Take a look at that. Oh boy, oh my. Stuart Skinner, he's been trending up. Why didn't we notice that he had been trending up the whole time? Oh my goodness, us Oilers fans. We overreact so much. We just got to relax, folks. At the bottom of the screen as well, the Oilers last night controlled 66% of the expected goals for percentage, 61% of the high danger chances, 59% of the Corsi 4 or shot attempts at 5-on-5, and 56% of the scoring chances. And then the numbers on the right side of the screen. We've already mentioned Stuart Skinner, massive shutout for the Edmonton Oilers, 23 saves. He was not busy, but he did have to make some pretty big saves last night and could not be happier with his performance. Can he carry it over? Can he carry that game 4 through 7 mentality, right? We know how good Stuart Skinner is in games 4 through 7 of a playoff series. Last year, he was 10-1. He had like a .950 save percentage in games 4 through 7 for some reason. His goals against was below a 2, and that is continuing. Can he lock things down tomorrow, and can the team in front of him lock things down? Last night, Bruce Cassidy, at the end of the game, he stormed off the Vegas Golden Knights bench. He was pissed, and you know that he's going to be making some adjustments before they play tomorrow night in Vegas. The Oilers have to be ready. They have to be ready for Vegas to come at them physically. I will expect to see some kind of crashing the crease mentality from the Golden Knights because of how much the Oilers were getting in the grill of Adin Hill. Last night, the Oilers have to be ready to go here. Trent Frederic, he's got to be on his toes. Evander Kane on his toes. They got to be ready to throw some fisticuffs if they have to. But I did like last night as well that Trent Frederic and Nicholas Hague, they dropped the gloves, right? If you have two players that dislike each other, they dislike what is happening on the ice, instead of seeing someone get slew-footed or cross-checked from behind into the boards or headshotted with a shoulder or an elbow, I hate that stuff, right? I don't like seeing the dirty stuff. If two players really dislike each other, just drop the gloves, right? And then you can move on. You can just focus on the game. Have your two players, they consent to a fight. They both drop the gloves and they just throw them. That's what I want to see more of in hockey instead of the nonsense that we've been seeing it throughout the postseason in almost every single series. Some of the dirty plays that we've seen that don't even result in suspensions. Half the time they only result in a fine. I would like to see players just enough with the dirty stuff. If you don't like someone, ask if they want to fight, see if they'll go, right? It's obviously super easy for me to say sitting on my chair, someone that has never gotten into a hockey fight myself. I don't condone, throwing punches. I don't condone brain trauma. I'm very against that. But in the playoffs, there's another level of intensity that is unquantifiable when it comes to your emotional state as a player. And obviously, sometimes things happen, but I never condone going after another player in a dirty fashion. Drop the gloves. Trent Frederic, loved what he did last night for Edmonton. Taking a look at more numbers for the Oilers. Stu, he had the 23 save shutout. Adam Henrique had 2 goals. Evander Kane, 1 goal, 1 assist. And the Oilers, I now believe, without McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice at 5-on-5, have outscored their opponents. Oh man, what is it now? 17-9, I want to say, or 16-9. I had the number set up and ready to go, and then I got rid of it by accident. But this is a team with depth. They probably have the best depth in the entire NHL right now. This is a team that does not get recognized for how strong their depth is. And guys like Evander Kane, where there's a lot of question marks going into the playoffs about, can he perform? Can he come in after not playing for 10 months and be effective? Well, the answer has been a resounding yes. Evander Kane has proven all of the naysayers wrong, including myself, and I could not be happier. That is massive for this team right now. The Jack Eichel line had just 1 shot on goal at 5-on-5 versus the Leon Draisaitl line. Of course, as the series shifts back to Vegas, Bruce Cassidy, he's going to be looking to get Eichel out probably against the McDavid line once again. So we'll see what kind of tactical advantage Cassidy will use, and we'll see if Chris Knobloch will have any adjustments to make on his end as well. See if he'll try and keep McDavid away from the Eichel line, or if we'll see McDavid and Draisaitl loaded back up in Vegas to take advantage of the Jack Eichel situation. We'll have to see what that looks like, though. Bouchard last night led all players in time on ice on the Oilers with 25-14. He had 1 assist and was a +1 rating. Probably Bouchard's best defensive game. And then Nurse and Stetcher as a defensive pair, 66.55 expected goals for percentage. Those are the numbers. The Oilers win 3-0. They are up 3-1 in this series, and I could not be happier. The Oilers did what they needed to do. They have put the Vegas Golden Knights on the brink. They have retained home ice advantage after taking the first 2 games in Vegas. They lost their first game at home to the Golden Knights, but they win the second game. If Vegas wins Game 5 on home, the Oilers have another opportunity in their own barn for a potential Game 6. I don't want to see it go to a Game 6, though. If you're the Oilers, this is an opportunity to bury your opponent. Put your foot on their throat. Take them out back old Yeller style. This is the time to really step up, assert yourself, let the Golden Knights know that their time in the limelight, their time as a cup contender, their window is done. Close it for them. Close the door on them, right? That's what I want to see. I want to see the Oilers close the door on the Golden Knights. I want to see them shut this thing down. I want to see the Oilers win this thing in 5 games and have numerous days off to rest, heal up, because those are important for a team like Edmonton. For how, old this team is. They are the oldest team in the Stanley Cup playoffs by average age. That is beneficial for the Oilers if they can get things closed out in a quick fashion. Last year in the second round, they went the full 7 games against Vancouver. It would be very, very beneficial if they could close things out in 5 against the Golden Knights. Take the extra few days of rest. Hope Winnipeg and Dallas goes the distance and they beat the crap out of each other, and then see who you end up playing next in the conference finals. But before we talk about that, of course, the Oilers still have a job to do, so we won't look too far ahead. The Golden Knights are not going to go down easily. This is a veteran team over in Vegas. This is a team with Stanley Cup aspirations. This is a team coached by a terrific head coach, maybe one of the best coaches in the entire NHL in Bruce Cassidy. I expect Game 5 to be the hardest matchup of the entire postseason for Edmonton. Let's see if they're ready to step up. And are you all ready to step up, right? Let's go. I can't wait for tomorrow night. Tomorrow morning, I'll have the pregame report up for the Oilers and Golden Knights Game 5. We'll have the projected lineups. We'll have the playoff stats. We will have the keys to the game, players to watch, and of course, the score prediction in tomorrow's pregame report. And then in the evening, at 7:30 local, I believe is when they play. Hold on, I better double check that before I give everyone the wrong time here. The Oilers do play at 7:30 local here in Alberta, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. At 7:30 p.m. local time, I will be going live once again on here, the YouTube channel, on the Austin Hockey channel, I should say, as I do more live stream commentaries. If you are excited for that, if you want to see more, hitting the like button on this video goes a long way. And of course, if you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and tell all your friends, share the video across all your social medias, let everyone know how amazing this community is, how amazing this fan base is, and not just Oilers fans. There are a ton of fans from other teams that tune in. Cannot thank you all enough for your support. We're going to end it here, folks. I just wanted to say thank you once again. Make sure you tell someone that you love them before the game tomorrow night. And as always, fight like a kid, fight like Ben. Let's go Oilers. Let's clean this thing up in 5 games, the old gentleman's sweep, and see if they can knock off Vegas tomorrow night. Let's go.